Okay. Oh, do it the other way.
Wouldn't it be smarter to do it the other way?
It's good. It's working. It's good. It's good. Yes, it is. We've covered a lot of these things. I like hearing about the track. Zachary Dad wants to know the story about you punching who? Drill sergeant. You punched your drill sergeant.
Drill sergeant. Who?
Did you punch your drill sergeant in the Army?
I might have.
We don't know that one yet.
Well, Dad, didn't you try to get him out of the Army? Did you go get
Who,
him?
out of the
No,
army?
the story is,
I might have it wrong. Go
okay,
ahead.
the story is that I had to do a 2-week deal for National Guard. And I got on the truck to go to the National Guard, and Larry and a couple of people decided they were gonna get me out.
This is a different story, but go ahead.
Okay, so they called the National Guard, and they said that they only take calls from the Red Cross.
Oh my God.
So Larry had his secretary answer the phone the rest of that time, American Red Cross. Gave the number, they called back.
Genius.
At any rate, they caught the convoy in Ithaca, New York. And they pulled me out of a truck, drove me to the airport, put me on a helicopter,
Oh my God.
and flew me from Ithaca, New York to Newark Airport. Because Larry told them that my wife had been in an automobile accident.
But it was true.
Well, that's true, I'm
I
sorry.
was in an
There
automobile.
there was an automobile accident, but nobody was hurt. There was an automobile accident, and that was the impetus of the story, that he was gonna get me out because of this.
Right.
And he did, I got
Larry was the person you called.
There was
I
no
called.
verification.
When I was
There was no
ever in
verification
trouble.
process there.
He was the man who was gonna be right there. Can't get Todd out of the bathroom, he's locked in. Through the window. He was their savior.
Let's talk about first girlfriends.
I didn't have any.
None, zero. I don't believe
Well, I
that.
just
Never had a
showed you a
girlfriend?
picture
He
of
asked,
the first
'cause I
girlfriend.
heard.
Who is his first girlfriend?
Carol English.
Carol English.
Do you remember the name?
Sure.
Yeah. Carol English, the reason he came up recently is because I was very good friends, and Marcia's very good friends with Carol's younger sister, Eileen.
I
And
didn't too.
Carol English died in childbirth, I
No,
understand.
Really?
Oh, wow.
She what?
She
She
died.
died in childbirth.
She died giving birth.
Yeah.
What about you, Uncle Dan? First girlfriend, first love.
I had a couple of, I liked, they didn't like me back, but I would think, there's a girl named Ruth Worcester that I bought a scarf for and had it monogrammed RW and threw it into her house. It was a hallway, I threw it in there. I wrote something, I don't know. There was another girl named Barbara Dvorak who walked with a limp. And I looked at her once and fell in love with her. As we walked past one another, I fell in love with her. And I wrote her, I said, I love you. And she wrote me back, I love you too. But we never spoke. I was just too shy.
How old were you? How old were you?
I was in the 8th grade, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it the limp?
I
What?
don't know, it was the whole thing in face, and I just fell in love with her as we walked past.
Wow.
But we went to a party, I asked her to a party, and I think I caught her kissing another guy.
Oh.
And I stopped talking to her.
That
Well,
was it.
I was gonna talk to her anyway, but she used to walk past the house on Saturday mornings and, for music lessons up by, on Sanford Avenue where Grandpa went to the dentist
No.
when he had a cerebral hemorrhage.
Stanford, yes, Stanford. No.
That was my romantic story early.
What about you, Uncle Bill?
Marcia.
Aw, she's always been with Marcia.
He's being kind.
Aw.
I'm the only one with a person in the room.
What
This is a lot.
what kind of student were you in high school?
Oh, high school,
Yeah.
not good,
No.
no.
What kind of grades did you get? What were your grades?
You got 80s, Bill?
Yeah, the 80 grade, yeah.
That's B's. Not so
Yeah.
bad. No, no.
Oh,
Uncle Bill
it's
says
not
no.
so bad when it's him.
It was,
Except for me.
yeah.
Were you a C student? You think he was a C student?
Barely.
Barely.
I was a C student and I was the academic in the family. And you know, I remember, here's one of my memories of Lara. I remember picking her up at summer school several summers in a row. Lara, did you take summer school, go to summer school?
Roselle?
Yes,
Roselle
yes,
Park?
yes.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what kind of student
Okay,
he was.
okay. Okay. And what about you, Uncle Dan? What kind of
I went to high school and failed 3 subjects, right?
Oh,
The first sophomore year, and I was forever taking 5 majors in high school.
to catch up?
Yeah, and went to summer school and failed that too.
that's it.
Stopped going.
But not because you struggled with content, right? You just
I didn't understand. Well, I didn't do any homework.
You
None of
weren't-
us
right.
ever brought a book home.
right.
Nor were we ever leaned on to. Benny's thought was, I didn't do it. Why should I make you guys do it?
Right.
Just it's just dumb.
But it's not like y'all aren't like very intellectual, it's just that they didn't put the,
Yeah.
just give the work.
No, nobody ever spoke about being Jewish or the Holocaust. Nothing. There was nobody ever related that to us. In fact, we were told not to. Don't ever ask your name. Your name was Mr. Maine. Secret, you know?
Who told you that?
Benny.
It was
Benny?
you were taught not to be proud of your Jewish, to hide your
Well,
Jewish
well,
heritage.
We didn't get bar mitzvah.
Well, to illustrate that, when I opened the bookstore, I didn't call it Rosenthal's bookstore, I called it Emerson bookstore.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. Because why?
Well, I think that I had that same thing that I didn't want, advertise that I was Jewish, that this is a Jewish business. I think I didn't put my name on my mailbox ever.
Did you experience, or did Benny and Fanny
Well, I'll
experience?
give you an experience like that.
Go ahead.
Should I tell this story? I will tell this story.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a
This
good
is
dad
an
story.
interesting story. When I was in 8th grade, a fellow by the name of Joe Garaffa slapped me in the face in front of a whole bunch of people and called me Jew boy. He said, "Get off the court." And I did, and I walked away. And subsequently, we had a couple of fights later on in life. We had a couple serious fights. 2 weeks ago, I went to my 60th reunion in my high school, 60th reunion. And at your 60th reunion, you don't recognize anybody. You look at these name tags,
Right.
and you say, "Oh, yeah, I remember you."
Yeah.
Only, there were no pictures, just name tags. And I looked at this and I said, "Joe Garaffa." And no. And he looked at mine, he said, "Rosenthal." He didn't say Bill, he said Rosenthal. He said, "I knew you were gonna be here." And he said, "I'm sorry."
Oh, wow.
And then
He remembered.
he remembered, he said, "I'm sorry, I was a bully." And then he took me over to the table, and he said to everybody, he said, "I was a bully."
What do you look like?
Wow.
And I took a picture, I put my arm around him, and
Oh my God.
Well, at the time, he had muscles, and he had facial hair, I thought. I thought he had 2 kids someplace. He was just a major force in my school, and there was only 5 Jewish kids in my school at the time, and I knew them all. And he was a major force, but the picture I took with him looked like a little Italian guy, just a little old man.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That's
What a beautiful story.
60 years. So the question is, I know I told, Larry and Danny about this story many times. You remember the story.
I don't.
It's all right.
The question is, did this guy think about it all those years
Oh.
too?
That's what I was thinking,
Right,
that
right.
he knew he was wrong and hurt you,
Yeah,
and he thought about it all those years,
but
We'll
what
never
an
know.
opportunity
As
for,
you did.
for,
as you did, and you were
That was
hurt,
a
so
big
it's
part of
Probably
interesting
never
that.
see him again.
Another 5 years, another reunion.
No, I don't think he'll do it. You know, they announced how many people weren't gonna be at the reunion because they were dead.
Oh, wait.
Why do that?
and so, but there was only,
Go ahead. But you ever, weren't you telling me to box or hit some people when I was younger, you were older?
I told you what?
to box.
To box, to go, like, be a boxer.
I think Benny was into that.
Benny?
Frankie Lita, he set us up to be trained by Frankie Lita, who was a neighborhood boxer. And I think you went down once or twice, and I went down once or twice.
And
And,
went back and told Daddy. I don't remember.
What, you said there's only 5 other Jewish kids in your school at the
Yeah, it was
time?
Merlin School, it was about 600 kids in school, only 5 Jews. It was on that side of town.
Okay, so there was a pretty big Jewish population in Irvington though,
On
wasn't
the
there?
other side of town.
On the other side of town.
No.
So you guys were on the wrong
Gee,
side of the track, so to speak,
Well, I
or
thought-
the non-Jewish
The
side.
non-Jewish side.
Okay. And how else did Benny, and what about Fanny? Did she also kind of make it clear that you shouldn't talk about being Jewish, or that's something to
No, I
hide,
don't
or
think they made it clear like that. I think
it was just a thing?
Yeah, I don't remember it being conveyed by them. No.
were you ever, other than that giraffe incident, were you ever leaned on about being Jewish?
Well, I think, because I leaned on about being Jewish, I think everybody identified us as, Jewish names.
And you knew that was
Would you
different?
recognize a Jewish name today?
Yeah.
You know what a Jewish name sounds like?
But I don't think non-Jewish people do. I don't know. Like
For
kids.
sure,
My grand did.
absolutely,
My grand did.
100%.
Is that right?
Yes.
You would, Amber?
Yeah, my gram.
Last name? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, my gram. She asked what Zach's name was, and then I told her his last name. She was.
Oh,
I said, oh yeah.
Aw.
Well, not
Yeah.
everybody
Steam,
will
things
plug
like
into
that.
those
Yeah,
levels.
yeah.
Those
I
Yeah,
levels.
bird.
I mean,
I
we live in
it's-
Boca.
It's not,
I
it's,
didn't put together my gram. She certainly did.
what about you, Uncle Dan? Did you deal with anti-Semitism?
No, nobody ever, I never heard it. If I heard it, I didn't wanna hear it. But I don't remember being leaned on anybody.
What about you, Dad? Do you remember dealing with anti-Semitism?
I did.
We were anti-Semitic enough.
You were.
Benny was.
Benny was.
He said Jewish people, when, in fact, Danny Puglisi visited me once, and he came in the store, and Benny started, he said something, he was stiff as my son, and then he said, Benny turned, and there was a guy buying cigars, and he started to sing, Jewish people, they would look to beat you for a couple of cents, or they tell you they can get it someplace cheaper, and he'd say, well, get it down there. There's a cut rate store, so but he didn't want to be undercut, but he wouldn't relent on price. Just didn't like Jewish people too much. But he didn't like anybody, come to think of it.
Grandpa Ben?
Mm. But he was nice to everybody, but he had prejudice against Italians, everybody. He said Italians would kick you when you were down.
Yeah.
I remember this about Benny. He didn't like my first husband because he was blonde and blue-eyed and drove an Audi. Bad news.
Yeah, bad news. Ooh, Audi.
Yeah, and made that very clear in a restaurant publicly.
How do you do that?
He said something, I don't know, came up about the car, and he said something about, he used some slang word, maybe he called it kraut car, or something like that. I remember words I'd never heard before, like gook and heave and kraut, and that was all Benny. Benny, and I laughed it off a little bit. Grandma was mortified, but I was old enough to let
She
it
was
go.
a different cut.
Yeah, she was.
But that wasn't his anti-Semitism, that was his
German,
anti-Nazism.
anti-Nazi,
There was no
anti-German,
question which side
but
he was
it
on.
but it was
Yeah.
deep-seated.
I remember
He
my mother called him
he liked Germans.
like Germans.
He liked Germans, that's right, right.
Mm.
Because they didn't beef about price. They just came in and bought, but he didn't like anybody bought the just Times. And and Times was a nickel at the time.
You all three went to college at one point or another.
That's Fanny's doing.
Tell me
all
about
three
it.
of us.
Tell me about it. I mean, you were the first generation to go.
There was no doubt that I was going to college. It was a question whether they went. Whether I was going.
When did you start thinking about college? How old were you?
Well, it was the summer of 17, she got me into Ryder.
Yep.
She took me down, gave me a test. They give you a test? They give you a test?
They took me.
They just took you, right?
And you got in.
Mm.
And what was your
I lasted
experience?
2 semesters and didn't do any homework, didn't go to class. In fact, I brought a radio, the English class. Crazy.
And he sat there, and they told me he had it on his shoulder.
What?
You had it on your shoulder.
Like a little transistor radio on your shoulder? Were you listening to games?
Going into one of the classes.
Mm.
And did they kick you out for that?
No, I don't think he ever caught me.
Your mother found out.
Is that right?
Yeah. I think she spoke to you about
Did you
it.
pass the classes?
So you left college after 2 semesters. What
They
did you?
released me.
They released
They
you.
released you.
What did you do after that?
I worked in a store.
Okay. And what about you, Dad? Did you go right after high school?
High school?
You graduated high school and then you went right to college?
Mm-hmm.
And did you stay in college straight through?
No.
Oh, you
Dad,
said-
can
No.
you tell them?
No, there was a time that Dan left the store to go into the army, and Larry quit. I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Right.
Larry quit a semester to work in the store
Right,
to replace Dan. I think that happened.
that's right.
And you were in the army was it between Korea and Vietnam? What was going
Yeah, I was
on?
right in the middle. That's why I didn't have to fight.
Right,
All
right,
reserve. We were all reserves.
right. So the timing was good.
And didn't somebody go AWOL?
Dad.
Larry, you went AWOL.
But Dad went
Just told me
AWOL.
the story.
You went AWOL, I wouldn't go AWOL.
Yeah, but didn't you come get him, Uncle Dan?
Yeah.
Did you come get him?
He was in Georgia. He was in not Fort Bragg, it was at
Fort Benning.
Fort Benning, Georgia.
He said he went home, and
They
they
called
called
him.
him at your apartment.
Right, and Larry
1436.
picked up the phone,
And he picked it up.
and he realized that it was the army calling,
Right.
and they wanted him.
What a bad thing to feel.
Yeah.
They said,
Were,
"You
were
better
you
come."
were you scared? Were you gonna get in
Once
trouble?
I found out they fought me,
Yeah. And what were you? So you left.
I want to go home.
You just wanted you thought you were just gonna be done.
No.
And not go back.
I knew they're gonna keep going, but that.
You just wanted.
I go home. I would go home. I
You
went
didn't,
home.
and you didn't think they would find you, or you did? Did you think they would find you? Or
If
just
they looked hard enough,
Right.
yeah. I went back to that
That is
old
fair.
place.
right?
That's the way it was. I wanted to do one thing, they wanted me to do other things.
Mhm.
I never liked to be in this. I don't know why I was there.
Because
I think
there
I
was
had to be
you
there.
had to be right.
Yeah, I knew I like to get out of here. So I
Do you-
got out of there.
Do you remember the story about Kane College and Grandma begging to get you in?
It sounds like my mother.
He went to, you graduated from Ryder College, right? So you did 4 years at Ryder
His
College.
master, oh, Ryder,
Right,
somewhere.
Ryder, the Kane was master's degree.
Grandma
Hey,
begged
What-
to get him in.
What did you major in
Yeah.
in college? Do you remember what you did? Was it business?
Mhm.
You did business?
I don't think, I don't
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah.
Can we establish if you went back to the army?
So, yeah, Mark wants to know, did you go back after you went AWOL? Did you get back, you went back to the army and finished your time? Yeah, yeah. Did you were you dishonorably discharged at the end? Or
Put in the hole?
did you get in
You know
trouble?
what happened? My mother got me. I walked out.
Yeah.
I didn't like this shit. I didn't make money. I wanted to go home. And I got a way to get home. I don't know how I did it. But I got home, and when I got home, the first thing that was on the thing, it called me, you better get here, you better
Get back. Right.
So I said, they knew what they were doing, and this is gonna be a problem if I don't. So I really wasn't going back there, and they didn't like me. So they put me,
What'd they do?
they gave me another place to go, one of the other places. And, I did.
But you didn't have to do any jail time or anything like that?
Wash dishes and
I
stuff?
don't remember, no jail.
No, no. Have you ever been to jail?
Yes.
Tell us about that. Speaking of which, what'd you do?
I hit a guy. I
Yeah.
hit a guy and I hit my car.
Oh.
And
Is that
we got-
Rabinowitz? Is that,
I think
did they arrest you?
Yeah. And they called the police out in the middle of the car, place.
So wait, a guy hit your car with his car,
And I got up and hit him.
and you punched him.
Right.
Well done. And you were mad. You were mad at him for hitting your car. You wrecked your car.
Yeah.
And so the police arrested you on the spot.
Yeah. They wanted me to go to the police, sort of thing. But it wasn't no bad. I had to stay there for, I think, 1 day.
Were you overnight? Or just the day? Overnight?
Yeah, I think it was done at night, and the next morning in the morning I took it away.
Who got you out? How'd you get out? You remember this? Do you guys remember it?
Well, my mother hired a guy named William Lovell, who was the mayor of Irvington.
He was, and he got that out. Wow, she went right to the top. Right to the top.
That was my mother,
Yeah.
not my father,
What a
my
woman.
mother.
Yeah. Grandpa would have left you there. Yeah. What about you, Uncle Dan? You ever
I've
been
been in the jail because of him. He didn't pay tickets. And he would, don't you remember Benny said, give me a shot? Give me a shot at paying him? Just hands me. I was with Mom. And I was reading Gone with the Wind and someone knocked on the door. And they took me to jail thinking I was Larry. And we used to exchange.
Did you go there? You got
Yeah, you
put
came in
there?
and got me. Yeah, I was in there for a couple hours, Irvington Police Station. You came in and got me out of there. It was your fault I was in there.
Hey, you gotta remember, this is not Rikers Island, it's Irvington.
Right.
My father had a business, and my grandfather before him. We were fairly well known in the town.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Benny writing a bunch of signs when they got arrested for selling? He wrote signs, I'm selling Playboy magazines, and you remember that?
I remember the Playboy magazines. I remember Hustler. I remember
He put it-
Playboy. I remember
he wrote
everything.
A long letter in crayon, black crayon, and hung it in the window of the store,
Right.
saying why he was arrested.
What?
Oh, he was arrested for selling?
Yes.
Why? Was it illegal? What? You had to have a
It was
permit? What?
marginal.
It's marginal.
You know, some people prosecute
It
you.
was,
and
it was a, it was a subject of the time, it was more than Playboy, it was.
Hustler.
Hustler.
Larry
Penthouse.
Flint.
Yeah,
Larry
yeah.
Flint, exactly. And, yeah, it was that time. And
They
he was
put you
arrested.
Did he put you in the jail?
And he put a sign up saying he wanted everyone to know why he was arrested.
Right,
Put his,
right.
I was
He was
arrested.
very put upon. He was very, felt he was being prosecuted unnecessarily.
Unjust. It was unjust. And so how
and
long
they-
was he
and
in
the
jail?
cop-
Oh, he wasn't in jail. He
Oh.
was
They just arrested him. They just made a statement.
yes.
So the
And they
town.
always thought, in addition to that, they thought he was running a bookmaker.
Right, and he was very hot about anybody accusing him of anything because he didn't do anything. He just sold
And
scratch
he
sheets.
would explain, you can't have a bookmaking operation in a business that's run this quickly.
Mhm.
people running in and out, you couldn't have a bookmaker
And
operation.
then did they have under the shade a different kind of girl?
Yeah, it was a sunbathing thing.
Yeah,
Mm.
and that was illegal.
So,
Sunbathing.
Like a swimsuit, you mean? Like the swimsuit
I think
models.
the boys,
every male in the family.
Was in the back looking at those magazines.
Oh, God.
I was too. I was
You were too.
mortified.
I'm sorry.
I didn't even like going in the bathroom because what's her name was up on the wall, Marilyn
Monroe.
Monroe.
Which is worth a lot of money
was
now.
Yes, beautiful, but it was these are
Yeah.
this set the
It
tone.
was a thing, for 12 days.
It was a calendar.
Right?
Yeah.
But when the calendar was on, they left the thing there so you could see it again.
Right, that it probably is worth a lot of money.
Special.
That's
As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, Larry, didn't you take that calendar and have it framed
It's framed
someplace?
somewhere.
It's.
It's
I thought it was
someplace,
in the
yeah.
office. I think it's in your office.
Yeah, it's someplace.
I think it is in your office. It's not as as a little kid, as a 5, 6, 7-year-old. I was in those days. Not anymore. 5, 6, 7-year-olds nowadays. That's nothing, right?
Why are you looking at me?
How are you guys feeling? We've been doing this over an hour. How are we
But
feeling?
Rach asked Dad when he went back to college, after when he went to a psychologist.
Yeah,
become a
yeah,
psychologist.
yeah.
I saw his grades. He was a cum laude.
Yes,
One
yes.
semester,
That was a lot different.
Yeah,
You went
because
backwards.
everything is A's. You shoot me.
I'm sure
With-
you told her 50,000
Yeah, with Michael's
times.
thing upstairs. Yeah.
When you went,
A's and A+.
yes, I
We were
remember.
different, he was a
Yeah,
different
he
student.
was a semi-retired businessman by then.
I also went back to finish my degree, because I had to quit to go into the Army, and
What was your degree in? Where did you go?
I went back to Connecticut College,
Where did you start?
Glassboro
Okay.
State College,
That's New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Right. And then you finished at Connecticut College, which is a very good
Why
school.
did you go to Glassboro, by the way?
Why?
Mm.
I think because they were the only ones that took me. No,
So
no,
wait,
it was
how
a few.
how much did you do at Glassboro? Because when you went to Connecticut, you were already a father.
Yes, when I went to Connecticut, I did 3 years and 3/4. I left with 1/4 left to go.
Okay.
And it was such a coveted thing to get into the National Guard to avoid going to Vietnam,
Right. Oh, so that was.
that I was willing to quit school to get it, and
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And then I went back many years later,
Right.
finished.
That's what I did.
And your
Finished
degree
in-
was what?
A BA in education.
Right. We have covered pretty much all of
Good.
my
Rach,
questions.
ask the
Yeah.
question I wanted to
What was
ask.
it? You ask it.
How did you guys meet Mel Lazarus?
Oh, right.
I was playing ball up in Chancellor Avenue School and playing touch
Mel.
football. And I thought this kid
Mel
was a great
Lazarus.
athlete.
What age, how old
Okay.
were you?
He was also a very good friend, best friends with our cousin named Joey.
Joey Fader?
Joey Fader was his best friend.
Oh,
Is that right?
I
Yes.
didn't know that.
And that's how we came to know him.
Yeah, we didn't know
Is that
that.
right?
And then Dan enlisted him to work in the store.
Yes.
Me, I went out.
Well,
Yeah.
before he worked
And
in
he
the
also
store,
played left field
softball
and,
with us.
Yes.
And he caught passes when we played touch football.
I remember him.
Well, he
I
was a
remember him
good
playing
athlete.
ball, and
He
I
was
remember
good.
he was. Did he live in the basement?
For a brief time.
Yeah.
He lived at my house for a brief time.
And he also, you guys, didn't you all have a house in Union?
Mm-hmm. 1344 Boris Avenue.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
I
for about
remember.
a
I
year or
remember
so.
that house.
I remember that.
Holy
Major-
cow.
It was a major thing in Oil. I remember
Yeah,
that.
I remember Mel living in the house. It was. I remember newspapers everywhere. I remember Chinese food cartons. I remember Mike and I laying on the floor listening
Remember the pool
to.
table in the middle of the living room?
Yes, remember the pool table. I remember there was a dog in the basement. Whose dog was that? Somebody's scary dog was living in the
Might
basement.
have been his.
No.
No, it was
It was Frank's. Frank's wife or something like that.
It was a mean dog.
Crazy dog.
Yeah.
And I wasn't involved in this, but they didn't pay attention. The dog was bad.
Yeah. I remember one day, Mike, we were there and somebody came down the stairs, I don't remember, and broke the banister. It was very traumatic
Oh,
for
really?
me.
Really?
You can't, there's a lot of,
We thought it was
I remember
because
you
he's so
taking
strong.
the Of the house.
Yeah.
So what was that house? Who rented it? Who was living there? Why?
He rented it.
You rented it because
I think
You
Joe
were-
Santoro was in
He
it.
got divorced.
you were newly divorced,
Yeah, I'm going to, I had a goat place.
right? But did you live there too for
Yeah.
a time?
I was coming out of a marriage,
Right.
and I needed someplace to stay.
Right. So it was
I was
you-
buying it. Now, what do we have first? The house or the apartment
In Elizabeth.
in Elizabeth? I mean, down north.
You had that
Oh, I
first.
don't remember.
That
That
first.
is first, and then the Morris
Yours is
is first.
And then an apartment in Elizabeth. I
That
remember
was
that
Dan.
apartment.
That was Dan, that was a bad apartment. It was on a high, like, he was involved in that too?
I remember you had an apartment in Elizabeth. We loved it because there was a swimming pool downstairs.
Wait, no.
No, it's
that's
different.
The
That's-
one he had, it seemed like Route 1 came right up to the window. He made a turn right underneath the window.
Where was this?
In Elizabeth, you had an apartment briefly, I
Yeah.
just remember being there.
All right.
That's good.
Good.
I think it's time for cake. Thank
Yes,
you,
let's have some
gentlemen. Thank you. I'm gonna share
Can we
this.
just close Bill, close in together
Yeah,
for a
another.
close up?
Sit up, Dad. Sit up and take
Sit
a
up,
picture.
put your heads together,
The three bones.
No.
close right in,
Three to go.
Move it, Dad.
move your head in, closer.
You know that this family has a lot of larcenies.
Do the
Closer
best,
to
do
down.
the best you can.
Closer
Take
to
it.
Come on, baby.
Down this way,
All right,
one
got me.
more, one more,
Let me get
this way.
this way.
Look at the camera.
Oh, there.
There you go. That's it. Excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.